family do not talk to me because they think that I, at the age of 16, did something with her partner at the time. And I have been a nervous wreck to talk about something like this and to tell this story. A, because of my family, because I don't want people, it's not to hurt people to tell my story. But at the same time, I've been working through this so much in therapy, and this is something that goes way deep to my core in terms of worthiness and how I feel about myself. And it's been such a journey. It's that moment of my life where I have to fully confront it and face it and talk about it, but talk about it because I also want to shed light for the women and the men and anybody who has gone through something like this, where you were underage and something in that sort of manner happened in terms of that sort of word of abuse. And I feel like I have to be careful with what I'm saying here because I don't want to be banned from talking about these situations, but also we kind of have to talk about it. I'm also not very good at storytelling and I'm new to all this, and I'm also trying to get ready at the same time and tell a story. And I feel like the story is quite complicated and detailed, so bear with me here. Yeah, so one of my aunts does not talk to me because I guess she felt like I did something with her partner at that time and nothing happened, but I'm gonna try to tell this story quickly and also not name any names. And so I was with this aunt for the summer with my sister, and I can't remember how much time had passed.
The silence didn't break gently, it detonated. One whisper, one leaked recording. And suddenly, the Braxton family's most protected secret is ripping through the internet like a wildfire no prayer circle can contain. For decades, Evelyn Braxton was untouchable. The holy matriarch, the guardian of legacy, the woman who demanded loyalty above all else. But now Ashlee Braxton and Tamar Braxton are standing shoulder to shoulder, exposing the reason they were forced into silence, and insiders say the truth is far more disturbing than anyone ever imagined. This isn't just family drama. This is alleged emotional warfare, spiritual manipulation, and a system of control so tight it rewrote reality itself. According to supposed leaked messages and secret recordings never meant to leave private phones, silence wasn't suggested, it was enforced. Speak, and you lose everything. Your family, your safety, your place in the legacy. Fans are rewatching old episodes with new eyes, realizing the pauses, the cutscenes. The awkward silences weren't editing accidents, they were cover-ups. Tamar, the loudest voice in the family, suddenly quiet. Ashlee, the daughter who always felt erased. Coincidence? Not anymore. Social media is melting down. Hashtags are exploding. Celebrities are reacting. Survivors are speaking out. And Evelyn, completely silent. Which only makes the allegations louder. Because when the people you silenced finally talk, they don't just tell a story, they expose a system. And what Ashlee and Tamar are about to reveal doesn't just threaten reputations. It threatens the entire foundation the Braxton legacy was built on. Buckle up, because once this truth starts spilling, there's no turning back. The silence didn't fall over the Braxton family by accident. It was placed there carefully, deliberately, like a lid slammed shut on something dangerous that refused to stay buried. For years, fans sensed it. The pauses. The tension. The way conversations suddenly died when certain topics came up. The way Ashlee Braxton seemed to exist on the edges of a family that proudly branded itself as unbreakable. The way Tamar Braxton, known for never biting her tongue, would suddenly go quiet when Evelyn entered the room. None of it made sense back then. But now, the pieces are snapping together in the most disturbing way possible. According to alleged leaked messages, private recordings, and emotional confessions never meant for the public, Evelyn Braxton didn't just encourage silence.
For a little bit of time to when we got home. And when I think it was my stepmother was going through my phone and she found this conversation, this sort of conversation. And she showed it to my dad, and my dad called that aunt, and we spoke about it and we talked about it a little bit. And I remember it was just a lot of emotions, was a lot going on. I was 16 at the time and I'm 32 now. I had to think about it. I'm 32 now. And so, my God, it's been 16 years. This is wild. Anyway, okay. So yeah, my aunt was there for me. She was very kind and very nice. And was like, I'm so sorry that this happened to you, blah. And not blah, but she was very kind and it just felt like safe, you know? But then as the years have gone by, like that mood and that assumption that I didn't do anything because I was a child was not that assumption anymore. And it boggles my mind because it was like, wait, but if it happened or if it was true, then that would make him, you know, and like, you're okay with that? Like that's what you would like to hear? I will just never forget how when I got older, I just realized that I really had to take the time and go back to that part of my life and understand how much feeling like I didn't matter, that I was unworthy. It just felt like love from my family was just cut off and gone. And you're like, but wait, that guy? And it made it even worse because it was like, wait, this guy that was doing this to you on TV, and like, it's kind of in cohorts in the same spirit of what was happening. Not in the same cohorts, in the same spirit, but like, you know, like it's so painful. And I know that the ladies, the men, everybody who has experienced this sort of feeling when your family doesn't believe you, or when you're at an age where you shouldn't have been put in that situation to have to navigate it. And however you navigate it was however you navigated it. And that's what I learned in therapy is like how I navigated it and how I dealt with it was how I dealt with it. But the most important thing to understand is that I never should have been put in that spot in the first place.
Courage silence. She enforced it. And the reason why is shaking everything people thought they knew about the Braxton legacy. It started long before cameras, contracts, and reality television. Ashlee says the fracture began when she was just a teenager, barely old enough to understand the weight of accusation, let alone carry it for the rest of her life. At 16, she claimed she became the center of a family narrative that quietly painted her as a problem rather than a child in need of protection. Nothing inappropriate ever happened, she insists, but the mere suggestion was enough to poison how she was seen. Instead of being shielded, she was scrutinized. Instead of being reassured, she was silenced. And worst of all, she says the silence didn't come from strangers. It came from inside her own family. According to Ashlee, the message was clear without ever being spoken directly. Don't talk about it. Don't defend yourself. Don't disrupt the family. As years passed, that unspoken rule hardened into something more sinister. Family members stopped calling. Doors closed. Affection became conditional. And Ashlee internalized the idea that her voice was dangerous, while Ashlee was learning how to disappear. Tamar was learning a different lesson. Speak too much and you pay for it. Tamar, the most outspoken Braxton, built a career on being raw, emotional, and unfiltered. But insiders say behind the scenes, her honesty was treated like a liability. When Tamar cried, she was dramatic. When she questioned decisions, she was disrespectful. When she pushed back, she was labeled unstable. According to Tamar, Evelyn framed obedience as faith and silence as righteousness. Scripture wasn't comfort. It was correction. Tamar alleges she was told that speaking her truth dishonored God and embarrassed the family. And every time she tried to articulate her pain, the conversation shifted to loyalty, legacy, and sacrifice. What she didn't realize at first was that Ashlee was being subjected to the same control, just more quietly. The turning point came when Tamar and Ashlee finally compared notes. One conversation. One honest moment. Tamar allegedly looked at Ashlee and said the words that cracked everything open. "You're not crazy. You're just carrying what we were told to bury." That sentence reframed decades of confusion. Ashlee wasn't isolated because she didn't belong. She was isolated because she remembered too much. And Tamar wasn't punished because she was difficult. She was punished because she wouldn't forget. Suddenly, moments from the past made sense. why Ashlee was rarely acknowledged publicly, why her presence felt minimized, why family events looked carefully curated to exclude her. According to alleged insider leaks, Evelyn believed Ashlee's truth threatened the foundation of the image she had built brick by brick. And Tamar, with her platform and
confront a lot of things, because my sister passed away. I fled the country because I was needing to save my own self and my own life. And when I say all of this is not a dig to my family member, because it's really sad that she also was put in that situation, having to deal and having to handle. Like, I don't wish that upon anyone either. There's sympathy there, but there's also so many other aspects of it when you're a child and you're like denied a voice. It's pretty much been like a lifelong battle for me. So it's been if you've ever been that person, I'm gonna go to part 2. Okay, I'm back. Sorry. Okay, so this is part 2 of my aunt doesn't talk to me because she thinks that I did something with her partner. And if you watched part 1, you could probably understand what's happening. And like I said, it's really difficult to talk about because I just don't want to be rude, because this happens to people where they've experienced some sort of abuse and then someone's told them that it hasn't happened or that it's their fault, or like but then as I have now lived in Europe for 10 years and I've traveled the world, it happens across the world, which makes it even more important to talk about, because a lot of people are going through this, but they're not allowed to say, or they're embarrassed, or they just feel like it's not something that they can even talk about. So for me, it was difficult because I realized that my aunt was starting to feel this way, that I initiated, or that it was not like I'm a part of the problem to blame. And I was saying before that I never should have been put in that situation as a kid at all, ever, especially when there's an adult involved. And so I essentially left the US in 2014 and I went to Paris, and I was there for about 4, almost 5 years. And I'm so irritated at myself because I left right before I was supposed to get my citizenship there. But anyway, and now I'm here in Barcelona, Spain. And I've been in Europe for almost 9 years now. And this subject has just come up for me at my therapy. And I'm addressing it, and I'm talking about it, and I'm shedding light on it, and I'm shedding awareness on it. And I just want to encourage other people, share your story, and to find love and to find self-love for yourself and for everyone else involved. And just know.
With her platform and voice, was the most dangerous ally Ashlee could have. Then came the recording, the one no one was supposed to hear. A leaked phone call allegedly captured Evelyn's voice cold and unmistakable, warning Ashlee not to speak about what happened within the family. The tone wasn't protective. It was controlling. If you open your mouth, you'll regret it. That single sentence detonated online. Fans replayed it again and again, stunned by how different it sounded from the loving matriarch persona they'd been sold for years. The internet did what it always does. It started digging. Old episodes resurfaced. Clips where Tamar was cut off mid-sentence. Scenes where emotional conversations abruptly ended. Moments where Ashlee's absence suddenly felt intentional instead of incidental. What once looked like firm parenting now looked like suppression in plain sight. As backlash grew, Tamar and Ashlee began releasing what they called fragments. Pieces of a story too big to drop all at once. Ashlee shared journal entries from her teens describing feelings of worthlessness, confusion, and abandonment. Tamar followed with screenshots of text conversations where boundaries were met with guilt, scripture, and emotional pressure. In one alleged message, Evelyn responded to Tamar's plea for space by saying she was letting darkness into the family. The manipulation wasn't subtle anymore. It was documented. Fans who once defended Evelyn now struggled to reconcile these receipts with the image they'd believed in for decades. And then the allegations escalated. Ashlee claims she once tried to write a memoir, not to expose anyone, but to process her own pain. According to her, the project was quietly shut down after Evelyn intervened. She alleges her mental stability was questioned behind closed doors, and the deal disappeared without explanation. Tamar echoed that experience. claiming episodes of her emotional breakdowns were deliberately edited out to protect the family brand. A former producer, speaking anonymously, alleged Evelyn had final approval on what made it to air. If it challenged her authority, it was cut. If it made her look sympathetic, it stayed. Fans were no longer just watching a family unravel. They were watching a system collapse. Social media erupted into chaos. Hashtags trended globally. Survivors of religious and familial abuse flooded comment sections, saying they recognized the patterns instantly. Therapists weighed in, calling the alleged behavior classic spiritual control, using faith and guilt to silence dissent. Old footage took on new meaning. A clip from years ago where Evelyn tells Tamar not to speak on things that don't serve the family went viral again. This time reframed as a blueprint for suppression rather than discipline. And still Evelyn said nothing. Her silence became louder than any denial. Then Ashlee dropped the story that made even longtime supporters recoil. She claimed that as a teenager, overwhelmed and confused, she tried to speak to a school counselor about her home life. The very next day, Evelyn allegedly showed up, pulled her out of class, and warned her never to take family matters outside again. The implication was devastating. Tamar confirmed the incident, saying Ashlee wasn't confused. She was brave, and she was punished for it. That revelation shifted the narrative permanently. This wasn't just about television edits or hurt feelings. This was about silencing a child before she ever had the language to defend herself. As pressure mounted, fans waited for the rest of the family to respond. They didn't. Trina stayed quiet. Tawanda posted vague messages about Grace. Tony said nothing. The absence felt deliberate. Complicity through silence. And just as outrage reached a boiling point, Tamar revealed the detail that sent shockwaves through the industry. The silence, she said, wasn't only emotional or spiritual. It was contractual. Confidentiality clauses allegedly embedded into production deals, restricting what could be discussed publicly. Tamar claimed entire subjects were off-limits: trauma, abuse, favoritism, mental health. Screenshots of redacted documents surfaced online. With notes warning against therapy narratives and emotional instability angles, fans were stunned. This wasn't damage control. It was calculated censorship. The Braxton legacy, once untouchable, was now bleeding in public. Think pieces exploded. Former fans demanded accountability. Supporters of Ashlee rallied around her, calling her courage long overdue. Tamar stood beside her, unapologetic and raw, saying this wasn't about revenge. It was about survival. But just as it seemed every secret was finally exposed, one haunting question lingered in the air. If this is what they were allowed to reveal, what truth was still being buried? Because the fear in Evelyn's alleged warning suggested something far bigger. Far darker and far more destructive than anyone had prepared for. And whatever it was, it hadn't surfaced yet. The fallout didn't slow down, it multiplied. Once the silence cracked, everything Evelyn Braxton had worked decades to contain began spilling out from places no one expected. Fans thought the first wave of revelations was the storm. They were wrong. That was just the pressure building before the real collapse. Because as Ashlee and Tamar's voices grew louder, insiders who had stayed quiet out of fear, loyalty, or contracts started coming forward. And the picture they painted was far more calculated, far more chilling than simple family dysfunction. Behind the scenes, sources allege that Evelyn didn't just control emotions, she controlled access. Access to money, access to opportunities, access to healing. Tamar revealed that every major decision tied to the Braxton brand had to pass through Evelyn's hands: shows, interviews, books, appearances. She positioned herself as the protector of the family empire. But according to Tamar, that protection came with conditions. If your truth fit her narrative, it moved forward. If it didn't, it disappeared. Ashlee confirmed that pattern, saying she felt like a ghost at family gatherings. It's present but never acknowledged, included by blood but excluded by design. She wasn't erased because she didn't matter. She was erased because she remembered too much as more alleged receipts surfaced. The internet began connecting dots that had been ignored for years. Old award show footage re-emerged, showing Ashlee seated away from the family table. Group photos where her presence was cropped or minimized suddenly felt intentional. Even wardrobe choices were questioned after a former stylist anonymously claimed Evelyn often decided who stood where, who wore what, and who was meant to fade into the background. It wasn't vanity, the source claimed. It was hierarchy. Control the image, control the story. Control the story, control the truth. Then Tamar dropped a revelation that stunned even her most loyal supporters. During one of her darkest mental health episodes, she said she was hospitalized and barely holding on. She expected comfort. She expected compassion. Instead, she claims Evelyn walked into the room and told her to pull it together because cameras were waiting. Tamar's voice cracked, recounting it. She wasn't worried about my life. She was worried about embarrassment. That moment reframed Tamar's public breakdowns forever. What viewers once mocked or dismissed now looked like the result of years of emotional suppression finally bursting through the cracks. Ashlee echoed the same neglect, revealing a letter allegedly sent by Evelyn, warning her not to reopen old wounds or risk being cut off financially and spiritually. One line set social media on fire. Some things are better buried. God will forgive you if you protect your family. To fans, that wasn't faith. That was coercion. The backlash intensified when a former Braxton Family Values producer anonymously leaked an email chain showing Evelyn demanding edits to remove scenes where Tamar accused her of gaslighting. In the email, Evelyn allegedly wrote that Tamar didn't get to rewrite history. That single phrase became a rallying cry online, because rewriting history was exactly what people now believed had been happening all along, protecting a legacy by silencing anyone who threatened it. And Ashlee was the biggest threat of all. Ashlee then revealed a memory that stopped the internet cold. At 14, she says she tried to tell a school counselor what was happening at home. The next day, Evelyn allegedly showed up at the school, pulled her out of class, and whispered a warning that followed her for decades. You don't know what people will do with your story. You keep your mouth shut. Tamar confirmed she remembered that day. She said Ashlee wasn't confused. She was courageous. And that courage scared Evelyn more than anything else. Because once a child speaks, control is never the same. From that moment on, fans realized this wasn't just about one family. It was about a system. A generational pattern where silence was taught as love and obedience was mistaken for respect. Therapists, trauma experts, and mental health advocates began weighing in publicly, calling Evelyn's alleged behavior textbook spiritual abuse, using faith to shame, using family to isolate, using power to suppress. Hashtags exploded across platforms. Break the Braxton cycle. Let's Ashlee speak. Silence is not love. Survivors from all over the world shared stories eerily similar to Ashlee's, saying they finally felt seen. And still, Evelyn said nothing. Her absence became its own statement. No interviews, no denials, no explanations. Just prayer quotes and vague messages about storms and restoration. To fans, it felt like gaslighting in real time, as if she were waiting for the noise to die down the way it always had before. But this time, it didn't, because Ashlee and Tamar weren't alone anymore. Then came the most shocking development yet. Tamar revealed that the pressure to stay silent wasn't just emotional or spiritual, it was legal. Confidentiality clauses allegedly embedded into multiple contracts restricted Ashlee and Tamar from discussing specific family matters: trauma, abuse, mental health, favoritism, even paternity questions. Screenshots of heavily redacted documents surfaced online, allegedly showing handwritten notes in the margins. Too risky. Remove therapy angle. Make her apologize. No mental health storyline. Fans were horrified. This wasn't protection. This was censorship. As the outrage reached a boiling point, another bombshell dropped. Ashlee revealed that her former therapist, bound for years by confidentiality, had been granted legal permission to submit a redacted affidavit. According to the document, Evelyn actively discouraged Ashlee from seeking therapy during her formative years and allegedly threatened disownment if she continued without family approval. The affidavit described multiple instances where Ashlee was denied emotional safety and told healing would destroy the family. When Tamar read it aloud during a live stream, she broke down. She said silence didn't just damage them. It made them sick. And now they were healing loudly. The entertainment world reacted instantly. Major networks reached out for exclusive interviews. Talk shows offered primetime slots. Tamar and Ashlee declined them all. "This isn't for clout," Ashlee said. "This is for closure." Their refusal only amplified public respect. Fans realized this wasn't a publicity stunt. It was a reckoning. Evelyn eventually released a brief statement about families going through storms and God restoring what's broken in His time. There was no what's broken in His time. There was no apology, no acknowledgement, no accountability. The internet was unmoved. Silence no longer looked holy. It looked guilty. The Braxton legacy didn't collapse, it transformed. Tamar announced a memoir focused not on fame, but on finding her voice after years of being muted. Ashlee teased a docuseries centered on daughters who dared to speak when silence was expected. Their first joint appearance at a women's empowerment summit ended with a moment that brought the crowd to its feet. Tamar turned to Ashlee and said, "We were the quiet ones. Now we're the storm." And for the first time, Ashlee wasn't standing in the background. She was center stage, unashamed and unafraid. The most haunting realization for fans wasn't what Evelyn allegedly did. It was how long it worked. How many people benefited from the silence? How many viewers mistook control for care? How many times Ashlee's absence went unquestioned? How many times Tamar's pain was dismissed as drama? The truth had been there the whole time. It just needed the right voices to break it open. And now, the question wasn't whether Evelyn would respond. The question was whether the culture that protected her would finally change. Because Ashlee and Tamar didn't just expose a family secret. They exposed a pattern that exists far beyond the Braxton name. One where daughters are told to be grateful instead of honest. Where mothers are placed above accountability. Where silence is praised and truth is punished. The silence is gone now. The narrative is no longer controlled. And once a truth this big is spoken out loud, it can never be buried again. Now, listen closely, because this is not just another celebrity story you scroll past. What Ashlee and Tamar Braxton have done is nothing short of revolutionary. They've taken decades of silence, manipulation, and control, and they've turned it into power. Power to reclaim their stories, power to shatter a legacy of secrecy, and power to inspire countless others who have been silenced in their own families. And here's the thing, their story isn't just about the Braxtons. It's about every daughter, every sister, every survivor who's been told to swallow their pain, hide their trauma, or protect someone else's image at the cost of their own healing. This is your moment to take a stand alongside them. Hit that like button right now to show the world that truth matters more than appearances. Comment below with your story, your voice, your experience, because every single testimony breaks the cycle of silence a little further. Share this video with your friends, family, and communities. Make sure everyone who has ever been silenced knows they are not alone. And that courage has a name, Ashlee and Tamar Braxton. And subscribe not just for more updates, but for the movement they've ignited. Because every time someone refuses to stay quiet, the world changes a little. Every share, every comment, every click is a vote for truth, accountability, and liberation. Don't wait. Don't let fear or doubt keep you from witnessing history in the making. Speak up, stand tall, and make sure the next generation knows silence is optional, but truth is unstoppable. The revolution has a face now, two of them, and it's calling on you to join.